This podcast is brought to you by JAM, Junction Arts and Media.
Hi, my name is Jeff Backus. I'm the Director of Development at Dismas of Vermont. Welcome to Going the Dismas. This is brought to you by Dismas of Vermont and CATV in a partnership. Dismas brings therapeutic community to those leaving incarceration and reconciling with society. On this podcast, we bring residents and community members together to have a conversation about seizing an opportunity for another chance and a fresh start. Today, I have with me Edgar, a current resident at Hartford Dismas House, and Jenn, a council member at Hartford Dismas House. Edgar, would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself and just give a little background information of the path that led you to Hartford Dismas House?
Well, I'm originally from the Bronx, lived in New York for quite a while, New York residence, and then I moved to Philly because I have family also in Philadelphia. So I kind of bounced around for a little while, got into some trouble out there, and got tired of living in Philadelphia due to some situations that I lived out there. And then I moved out to Florida, which I caught a case basically because of protecting my mother and defending her in a situation that was over like a parking spot or something like that. It was crazy, but I wound up going in jail for that. Later on, just wound up being released from jail 9 months prior, and then asking to be transferred with a friend of mine that lived in Philadelphia that I grew up with childhood. I wound up getting the transfer to Vermont, and I was living currently in Rochester, Vermont, and it was really nice out there. Great experience, fresh air, clean, crisp air, and people very nice and, very homey where I was living at. Fortunately, that didn't last too long. My friend was basically not telling me the truth about his personal life, wasn't paying rent, and I'm giving him rent money and stuff like that, and kind of got screwed over and lost the apartment, and that's how I got led to Dismas. Called my PO and told him, look, man, I don't have too many options right now. I have money saved up, but I do want to stay in Vermont. And he was like, well, give me a second and I'll basically call you back in a few, which he did. I met Jeff from there. Jeff allowed me to come and give me this opportunity, and I was very grateful for that. And that's how I made it to Dismas and been successful since. I have a job working, currently saved up a lot of money, and I'm ready to be living on my own again, having my son living with me and, starting my own future, my own family, and my own legacy.
Right on. Jenn, what led you here to this podcast here today?
That would be Gabrielle Luke, Jeff. About 4 years ago, I was talking to my friend and coworker, Gabrielle, and I said, really interested in giving back to the community. I enjoy volunteering, and I knew she did a lot of volunteer work in the area. And she said, you should really think about Dismas House. So I looked at the information, and I really appreciated what Dismas does for people because I've had some family members that have been through the prison system, and it really spoke to me, and I was very compelled to find out more. So I met with Tracy Dustin Edgar. We had a great conversation, and in December of 2018, I joined the board of Dismas House, and I'm now vice chairperson of the board. And it's been a really wonderful experience meeting the residents and hearing their stories, seeing all the success that we have, and also working with the community to bring the message of Dismas.
So I think we have to address the elephant in the room before we move any further. Today is Edgar's birthday. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Edgar.
Thanks.
How old are you today? 19, 20?
I'll be like the store, forever 21.
Such a personal question, Jeff.
39 years old.
And in your 39 years of experience, what would you say was one of the most pivotal moments in your life that steered you in either direction, really? A positive influence, a negative influence? What's something that happened?
When I lived in Philadelphia, I had just got released from doing state time prison. I had a 5-year sentence. I did 3 years, got out, was released, had to do 2 years out on probation, parole. I had a situation in Philadelphia where it was a nice day. It was so beautiful outside. It was like one of those nice days where it started getting warm again. Everybody wanted to start coming outside. And I had a relative of mine come to visit me. Her birthday was coming up soon. She was about to be 21. And unfortunately, there was a drive-by shooting. I was shot. She was shot. She lost her life. There was like 8 people that got shot that day. That's where I just realized life was like so precious and so short, so made me just want to just leave that place, get out of there and start fresh. And that's when I moved to Florida. And I mean, I was doing pretty well for myself in Florida. I was working end-to-end jobs. The only thing is, like, for me, it was like, Florida's a good place to live for me, but it's just, I think it's more for people that's like retired or people that have like some kind of business.
Mm-hmm.
People that's normal, just trying to get a job. They don't pay very well. So that was one of the things I was struggling a lot, working and just trying to live, everyday life like everyone else. And then that situation with my mom happened over the parking spot, and these people tried to attack her. And, I reacted to the situation, and I wanted to get in the crappy end of the stick. So from there, I just took it, like, went in, did my time. And when I got out, I was tested a lot. I had got my first job as soon as I got out, and the COVID had hit because I came out on Valentine's Day, which was pretty cool. That was pretty love, so took that as a good leeway. All right, this is going to, my future's going to start from here. And I wind up just starting this little job just to, make some money. My aunt let me stay with her for a little bit. Shout out to my aunt Jenn, and basically I had the owner of the company. One day I'm working like, basically I think I was tying a boat or tightening a boat on a battery, and the owner of the place came over, leaned over me while I'm under the hood and poked me in the back of my head and told me to use my head. And I turned around and, like, mind you, I have an ankle monitor. I'm on house arrest, and I'm on a violent charge. So, like, I had to, like, really think at that moment. One, I don't like people putting their hands or touching me at all. So that was already like, you crossed the line. So I took a deep breath and I just walked away and ignored totally everything he said. And he kept following me. And now he's snapping his finger at me like a dog. So now I'm just like, hey man, you know what? And I just said it in a calm way and explained to him, like, please don't ever put your hands on me again. I don't appreciate that. I'm a man just like you're a man. And don't do that again. Don't snap your fingers. My name is Edgar Adam Quinones, and you call me by my name. I'm not snap your fingers. I have a name, And I explained to him the situation, and he apologized. And then from there on, I realized that I didn't have to resolve things to violence or fighting, using my hands, so to speak. So I started just using my brain more, and it's gotten me far. I'm here in Vermont, enjoying the beautiful, beautiful green trees and just the fresh air out here, and just the people. It's amazing, the people out here, and so much help that I got, and the people behind me helping me. I also do acting. I'm actually writing a script right now. I think if my brother's on right now, he probably knows what's up. The Carpenter Boys. We're still on the premiere of trying to do something. It's a story about our life, growing up as kids in the Bronx. It's going to be interesting. That's pretty much my story to now that I'm where I'm at now here.
And I can see how you've grown and changed. Listening to your stories and where you came from and how you perceive things looking back on it, I can see that you've grown a lot and you've become a great energy guy, a great vibe guy, a great personality to have at the house. And having these key components in the makeup, the composition of the residents at the house is critical to the success of the house and the group as a whole. We need people with the high energy, the positive vibes. And you too, Jenn. I mean, you bring positive energy to the council. It's the mission of Dismas of Vermont is to help formerly incarcerated individuals transition back into society. What we do is we sell positive vibes. It's a whole spirit. And I think you both personify exactly that.
Oh, thank you, Jeff. One of the things that I appreciate about your story, Edgar, is that you can be a success and inspiration for the other residents because you went through such a terrible trauma. You went through multiple traumas that you're carrying with you. And for you to come out of all of those traumas and to say, I want to do something with that. And I want to take the lessons that I've learned and come out of it with positivity and bring that to everybody else that I meet it's really a powerful story. And I would love to see your script come to life. I think that would be wonderful.
Yeah, I think so too. It's a really good message, and hopefully for like a lot of younger people too, like for the youth and the younger generation, like my son, and they could see like, the turning point where, like, yeah, we did a lot of crazy stuff. We had fun and stuff like that. But when it's all said and done, it's what's really important is about family and, supporting each other. That's what brings things together.
What would you say is advice that you would give to your younger self? What is something that you could pass on now that you know that would have changed the trajectory of your life?
Not to be so hard on myself, not to look at the mistakes as losses, look at them more like lessons, learn from them and grow. I wouldn't change anything about my life, not one bit.
No, it's made you who you are.
Exactly.
So earlier you mentioned COVID. Last week I had COVID and it was miserable. This is the second time, potentially third. I mean, I think I had it before it was really a thing, but I think that's the third time I had COVID and it was miserable.
That's Jeff leading the charge, having things before they're actually things.
That's right. I'm a trendsetter. While I'm sick in bed for the last week, I reflected on we're not in the fun part of COVID anymore. We're not in the hello, all you cats and kittens, Tiger King fun part of COVID. It's become exhausting. I mean, we've all grown from it. We found ways to adapt. We'll start with Jenn, then we'll move on to Edgar. What is something reflect on the last 2 years that how COVID's impacted you and how you approach your day-to-day life and perceive everything around you?
Starting right off with the tough questions and putting me on the spot, Jeff. I will say in the past 2 years, believe it or not, for people that know me, they would think I'm extroverted. I'm actually introverted, and I really appreciate my time at home. And with COVID, I realized how much I do appreciate being around other people, because when you are stuck in 660 square feet, living and working and doing everything by yourself, you really miss being out and being around other people. So that was something that was huge for me. And I really do try to get out now and see other people. Otherwise, it's way too easy for me to be a hermit and to binge watch Tiger King or all of those other fun Netflix shows. I'm pretty sure I reached the end of Netflix during COVID.
I think we all have, really.
I definitely have a few stories.
Were you incarcerated during the last 2 years, during the COVID times?
No, actually, the day I got out, like a week before COVID shutdown started. And it was really weird because, like, I guess when I got out, I was kind of like, I was close to like 190 pounds, but I was more like muscles. I was working out a lot. When I got to the house, that kind of all stopped because I wound up getting like the ankle monitor situation. So I wasn't able to jog and run. So I was just eating in the house, and then the weight I already had, plus the food I was eating, I gained almost close to like 200. I was almost like 200 pounds for my weight, my height. I'm only like 5'5". I'm not a tall guy, but that's a lot of weight. So once they actually took off the ankle monitor, that's when I just took off. I started jogging every morning and I lost all that weight. I weigh like 155, 160 if that right now. So I lost almost 40 pounds.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you realized that you missed that physical activity.
Yeah, I did. Like it was kind of like hard because then like once I started working too, that kind of like made it even worse because like I'm working, kind of getting a workout there. I was kind of like detailing, doing porting, stuff like that. So I'm always outside and stuff like that. But at the same time, it was kind of like, man, I'm tired. I don't want to work out now. Then you're eating like good food. You're not eating the stuff that you're eating in that place when the food sucks. So like you get to, especially you got auntie there at the house. So auntie's just whipping it up in the kitchen all the time. So it was always like, all the good, delicious rice and beans and the chuletas and the chicken and all that stuff.
Making me hungry, Edgar.
Yeah, I know. I'm just thinking about it making me hungry.
Those delicious meals made by our community members too at the house.
Yeah, I enjoyed the dinners that we have every night during the weekday at our house because it's just like kind of reminds me of home too, because like I used to do that a lot with our family. Even though like some of us, we had a table, but there was so many more of us that we didn't fit on the table. Some of us had to sit on the sofa, on the floor, wherever we could find. So, you know, Grandma's house was always packed, but she always had food for all of us. We would just have feasts every night. It used to be so fun. When we had it, we had it. When we didn't, we didn't. But, you know, we cherished every moment.
Yeah, and that's something that we at Dismas kind of missed out on during the COVID time frame is we weren't having guests come in the house. Volunteers weren't coming in the house. I mean, I don't know that any of us really knew what was going on, but we were all kind of scared. So, I mean, our volunteers stepped up. They were dropping off food on our porches, and we were still eating, you know, better than 98% of the world.
Right.
But that's half the project. We need the community to come in and just sit with us and have a conversation and tell stories and just help normalize the whole atmosphere. We found our way with just, you know, residents and staff, and we did okay, I think. But that's not the full mission of what we do. I think, you know, what I'm trying to demonstrate through this podcast, I think the blend of community members and formerly incarcerated individuals, you know, that's our bread and butter. That's how we do what we do so well.
Right.
I like what you said about the storytelling, Jeff, because I think one of the most powerful forms of communication is telling each other stories to connect. Because Edgar, when you were just talking about your grandmother's house, it made me think of my grandmother who was Italian. And actually today is her birthday.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I think she would have been 98 or 99.
Oh, so I share a birthday with a legend.
Yeah, you share a birthday, with Grandma Sassani. And
awesome.
So it was very much like that too, where we would all get together and eat. And my mom has definitely carried that on, always big Italian meals and things. So it just, you talking about that and just sharing that food and having that with your family made me think of that too.
Yeah. And that's the common denominator. Everybody needs to eat. So the food brings us together. Yeah. The conversations and storytelling make us stay, and that's what, you know, how we do our thing. But it's the food that brings us all together. If you two each had to pick, you know, the one meal that, you know, that brings you back, that makes you feel young again and makes you feel that happy place, that comfort food, what would you choose and who cooked it?
When I was a kid, my great grandmother, which a lot of people don't really get to like get the blessing or the honor to have, you know, be around a great grandmother. My great grandmother Philo, she used to make this kind of like cream of wheat thing in the morning, and I don't know, like other people have made like other, you know, I had females that try to make it, but it's just not the same. I can't. It's just not the same. It's not. And like
it lacks that love.
Yeah, it lacks that little bit of love. Like, and it's all lumpy. I'm like, nope, this ain't it. It's kind of like a porridge, but it's like a I don't know. It's yellow, and then it's kind of like corn, like a cornmeal. But it's like a lot of Spanish people used to eat it a lot back in the days, especially like in the early '60s and '80s and stuff like that. Between that time frame, so not too many people eat it now. But I think it's like a farina or something like that. It's called in Spanish, farina.
I like that porridge concept because now it's making me think of Goldilocks. You're like, no, this is not right.
That's too hot. Yeah.
It's too hot, too cold.
Too lumpy.
Too lumpy. Exactly.
This is mess.
Exactly.
So I'm dying to hear about the Italian food.
Yeah, that would be lasagna and meatballs. Yeah, and in my family, it's gravy. It is not sauce. We do Sunday gravy. And lasagna, it takes a very long time to make, and it is well worth it. But when I was a child, my job was to put the olives in a bowl and to grate the cheese. And so even today, at my fine age, which I will not share, I still, when I am there and Mom is making lasagna, I still put the olives in the bowl and I still grate the cheese.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's tradition now, though.
It really is.
Yeah.
It really is. Brings me back. What about you, Jeff? What's your comfort food or favorite childhood meal?
I mean, at this point, the meal that brings me back is called gyoza. My grandmother, she is Japanese. I'm a quarter Japanese. And so it's just, you know, it's little fried dumplings that has meat and soy sauce and bean sprouts. It's pan fried. My mother still makes it for my birthday. Gyoza and strawberry rhubarb pie for dessert, which don't particularly go together, but that's my happy place. So.
Yeah, that sounds really good.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah. I think in my time at Dismas, one of my favorite meals I've had was, if Tom and Margie, if you're out there listening, I still talk about this meal. We had breakfast for dinner one day, and they made French toast that sandwiched cannoli filling, and then they had heated up syrup from the stove and poured over the top. It was incredible. We all left and, needing insulin, but
everyone went and took a nap.
But it was absolutely terrific. I still tell that story pretty routinely. I love that one. So Tom and Margie, please come back.
Yeah, we need you.
Jeff needs his sugar rush.
That's right.
My favorite probably was the Christmas dinner, the one with the lobster, that thing was cool. I liked it. That was probably one of the best dinners I had there.
Yeah, I wish I was there
and
in person. I missed it.
We had steak too, steak and lobster. Yeah, I remember that.
One of our longtime residents, Dale White, I got him. This was his final, Dismas Christmas, and he liked to dress up like Santa every year also. So he used to work lobster boats when he was younger. So as a gift, I got him, I think it was like a 12-pound lobster. The thing was incredible.
Big lobster.
Yeah, it was gigantic. It was delicious too. Shout out to Dale.
We still have the claw on the shelf.
How big
like
is
a trophy.
The claw?
The claw, it's probably a good 1.5 feet. It was huge.
Yeah, he took the claw. We still have at home the actual head part of it. It was pretty big. It's about, I want to say about that big, just the head size. Yeah.
Now that I know that, I really do enjoy playing pranks, and not being in a workplace, I haven't been able to do the types of pranks, and they're not mean pranks, they're just fun ones. So, like putting a picture of myself in someone's desk, so when they open their drawer, there I am. So now that I know you have that, I might have to put it under somebody's pillow or something. They go, they're like, what is that?
That probably would scare somebody to catch them off guard. Especially if they didn't,
They weren't expecting a lobster claw.
Yeah.
So thinking back on it, your time at Dismas, you've been here going on a year. I think you arrived in December?
Yeah, December.
What is your fondest memory of the house? And this is a less easy question. What do you think is something that could be improved?
All right, the fondest memory in the house was probably Christmas Day, because I had missed Christmas, and then the following Christmas wasn't really too much going on because of the whole COVID thing. So I would say definitely the Christmas, just having, it wasn't, the gifts were cool. It was just the whole homey thing, just being around people that feels, it's like family to you. And I think that was really cool. Like that feeling was really amazing on your behalf, you guys. What I think we can improve, I have exactly one that I think we should improve. I think we should improve on the housings, for people transitioning into moving out. I think we should be more with the community, trying to help, trying to find more landlords that would feel comfortable renting to us, because it's kind of hard for a lot of us, especially ones that have backgrounds. And then we got to do the background checks. Sometimes we know we're not going to pass, and you got to pay some of these fees too, for a background check. It's $50, sometimes even $100 for a background check. So then you're paying that $100, and then you're going to lose that $100 because, they might not even, pass you. So I think that's one of the ones I think we need to improve on to help a lot of the guys. And I think that will help drastically a lot, because, not everybody's going to be able to get places like that, and then some of the waiting lists is, could wait up to a year or two, it's those things, so, depending on, it's kind of I was planning to stay maybe 2 years, but, I have my son, and I'm trying to have him stay up here and live with me. So I'm trying to get him out of Philly too, because Philly's not a safe place. So that's why I'm really trying to make this next step up and make this move for him also. And plus I want to be a better parent and do better things and different things in that nature, so just trying to just be a better parent and be a better person And, this has helped me get to that place where I'm at, so.
I think in general, there is a housing shortage, affordable housing. I mean, people with good paying jobs can still struggle to find affordable housing. A next level Dismas, where, we still own an apartment building. You spend your time here with us at the house, and you're ready for the next level of independence, but, you can still come back and stay connected to the community. So we own an apartment building, and you can go there and you can do your own thing, but you can still stay connected in case you need further help. And, it's an affordable option.
Yeah, because I think that helps a lot, especially helps people to save up money, because that's really what I've been doing. Like when I became the RA, the house, the fact that I didn't have to pay rent anymore kind of gave me that extra cushion, to send money to the kids, of course, and also just save a lot of money, So I've saved up quite a lump sum of money where I can move out and be on my own and be good for the next couple months to a year, at least, while I'm working and saving money more, So I think that would be a good idea, because then even if some of the people from the council, maybe they, they can buy properties and then rent it out to us too, could be a charity thing where they just buy out, properties and maybe, basically just rent to us, at affordable prices, depending on certain people's living conditions. Because some people, you got people that come in here that's different walks of life. You have people that are on disability, that collect a certain amount of money every month. So those things too. So and then other people that don't really, that are capable of make good money, and then, that's different. Maybe they might not need it, but it's still an option for them. And it's always good to have those options, different doors to be able to walk into. So I think that's a good idea on that part.
I agree. I love that phase 2 plan of really being able to help people to have their own place, to have that independence, because that's such a great feeling to say, I went through phase 1 living at the house and moving into phase 2. I have the support there if I need it. And now I'm building credit, and now I'll have a landlord where when I'm ready to move out of this, I have a reference that I can bring with me. And I agree, there is a huge affordable housing crisis here in the Upper Valley. And I think what is really so difficult about it is that as the cost of rent has gone up, wages have not followed suit. So I think, as an example, right now I pay $1,000 to live in a condo in Lebanon, which is a lot of money and is probably one of the lower rents in Lebanon, especially when I consider I have a dishwasher, I have a washer and dryer, and I have all of these really nice amenities. And for people to find a place less than that, they're going to have to move further out into Canaan, or if they can't leave the state of Vermont, move further out into places like Bradford, like Fairleigh. And then if you put that on top of having to maybe find transportation, trying to find affordable housing in this area while considering that is really, really difficult. So I love the idea of having an apartment complex or a building or even another house split into apartments where we can help people move into that phase 2, because it's a crisis that's facing every person I know in the Upper Valley.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. People are having to move further away to find affordable housing, and then they're losing touch with the connections and supports they've built while at the house here in White River.
And then how do people that maybe have to move to Bradford, or again, if you're able to move into New Hampshire, into Canaan, how do you get somewhere if you can't afford a car, because most of your money is going to rent and to utilities? And for people that are living paycheck to paycheck, they might be 1 week away from losing their home too. So there are all of these things that really can compound these issues for people. It really can be like a spider web, where it's like you just pull one little piece and it collapses.
I agree.
So you mentioned that you're the RA. That stands for a resident assistant. I, as the house director, never lived at the house. So there's times where a Dismas house is unstaffed and a RA is appointed to kind of be the eyes and ears when staff are away. And that's not to be a tattletale on every little thing. It's to ensure the safety of those at the house.
Right.
And I can guarantee I don't know everything that goes on at the house like you do. What has been your experience and takeaway from being RA? Because I would imagine by being in this position, you can either be resented as being seen as like a staff favorite, or you can be seen as a leader and somebody that can be confided in.
Well, from what I see, from the most part, everybody looks at me more like the leader.
Right, I'm
respectfully, because it's like I don't see myself like I'm not on a high horse or like feel like I'm superior or higher than anybody in the house. We all equal in the house, but since I'm the RA, they look more forward to me like for questions and things like that, and it feels good to like have those answers for them a lot of the times, and if I don't, then I ask Jeff, so that's usually how it goes. So pretty much on that part, but yeah, I mean, being RA, it's a roller coaster ride. You're dealing with a lot of people with different mixed feelings and emotions, and you just got to have a lot of patience. And I mean, that's something I didn't have in the past. I built that, whatever it's called, just that feeling of just be able to have that, just be able to just be calm and just like, okay, and then, I had situations where, I had to pull people to the side and talk to them. And I mean, this situation with the one guy, that he came out and said some racist, stuff to me and everything, and it was crazy. I almost lost it. I really did. I almost lost it, but I had to keep my cool. And, thank God my friend Paul was there too, because he kind of grabbed me, but he didn't really need to, but he kind of like already was like, oh no. He said that word, I already know what's going to happen after that. Let me just make sure. And, it was just making sure for my safety that, nothing happened. And nothing did happen, I mean, and on that part. But like I said, you're dealing with different people, different walks of life, and you just got to just be considerate and like really analyze the situations, and like try to be in those people's shoes and why they're reacting like that. So I kind of like, that's how I win a lot of people, I guess, in the house, because like I don't like look at them and tell them, even if they're wrong, like I kind of tell them that they're wrong, but like in a passionate way, like that they can do better for themselves. Like, man, you can do better, man. You better than that, And I think that's where, people just need that motivation, and I guess that's where I step in, as being a leader, being a leader is not just telling people what to do and things like that. Being a leader is being an example and taking the step forward first before they take the step forward, being ahead so that when they're coming up ahead, what's already up ahead before they do. So you can lead them, so.
I'll take this time to say I appreciate what you've done. In the 5 years I've been house director, I can recall, I think, 4, maybe 3 solid RAs that were able to do the job well, and you've done the job very well. I think inherent in the model, we're going to have conflict. You take 10 strangers and put them in a house together, it's going to be
that's
Big
what I'm saying.
Brother, Jersey Shore conflict, and it's going to be issues. But you take 10 people that are very unstable and unsure about their futures, and then commonly dealing with addiction issues, there's going to be a lot of personal growth going on, with themselves and with each other. What are the stages of group dynamics? Do you know the storming, forming?
It is a forming, storming, norming, performing. It's the Tuckman model of group dynamics.
I knew you'd know.
That's a tongue twister.
Yeah, and we tend to, get hung up in storming sometimes, but we do find ourselves, when residents, I think around the 6-month mark is when people really have taken the next step, and the house goes in cycles. We'll have a group that comes together roughly the same time. They'll stick together for 6 months to a year, and then we'll turn over and start over again. And I think this group has passed that mark. I think we found our way. We know we have people that routinely are rough around the edges, but we've learned how to handle them, and we've learned what what's really worth it? Is this worth the aggravation? No. And your ability to mediate people has really guided the house in this direction. And I would expect probably 4 or 5 of the 8 people that are there are going to move out in the next 2 months.
Yeah, that's what it's looking at now, because we're already like in that talk. Some of us even thinking about moving in together. Yeah. So
that
would be cool.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I think, Edgar, you coming from a place of empathy is one of the biggest, most important things that you can do, because just hearing the stories, reading the storybook that Jeff put together, and listening to other stories, for example, if you did not listen to the first podcast with Seth and Celia, I highly recommend it, listening to Seth's story. So many people have gone through traumas when they were younger, or just didn't even have people listen to them, value them, respect them. They weren't told that they were loved, that they were cared for. And what you're doing, Edgar, by showing them that empathy, is giving them that, which they may not have had even ever in their lives. And that's what makes you such a great leader.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And that's what makes you a great leader too, Jeff, is that you take a firm and fair approach, which is kind of like that parental approach where you set the boundaries. Of course, the guys are going to push up against the boundaries because it's bound to happen. They want to test the waters. They want to see how far they can go. And you let them know when they have hit that barrier. And then they're like, okay, this is where I need to stop. And having both of you together in the house really makes for a great combination. So.
I've grown to be like this. I've learned how to do this job. I say in the interview, I can provide you a place to live and all the resources and connections you could need to succeed in your life, but I'm not going to do the work for you. You have to do it. And that's bottom line. I can't make you do anything. I can't force you to want to better yourself or change. Maybe you don't want to change. Maybe you like who you are. Then maybe this isn't the place for you. And we can have that conversation as well. I mean, that's the reality of the situation. Now, something we've found ourselves in now is where addictions have taken us. I mean, if you look at Burlington Dismas House 30 plus years ago when they opened, was not the same makeup that we have today in dealing with addictions and opiates. Has proven to be difficult and a learning experience. And I'm not sure anybody has the answer quite yet. We just keep trying our best. Everybody has had addiction touch their lives in some way, shape, or form. Would either one or both of you be comfortable sharing how it's impacted you?
I really didn't see too much like drugs. Like I knew of drugs growing up in New York. I didn't see too much drugs in the area that I was in. A lot of the time people were just smoking pot and like drinking alcohol and stuff like that. Nobody was really into that era when I was hanging out was like in the 90s. So like nobody was really like, doing crazy psychedelic drugs and other stuff like that around me. So, but when I moved to Philly, it was a little different. And just living in Philly is just like, it looks like The Walking Dead. Just have people like just high, like stoned out of their mind, where they're standing up, but like their upper body's leaning over to almost like hitting the floor, but still their feet are still standing, and like you're walking through there, like, and I never realized like how, because like I guess you living in that environment for so long, you're so used to it. It's like you just walk by it like it's a normal thing. And then I remember like when I moved to Florida, and I was out there for like maybe 3 years in, and then I had to go back down to Philly for a little bit to take care of something, and just going back down there and seeing that, and just like all over again, it was just like, whoa, like I lived in this. Like I couldn't believe like that I was living in that, and how bad, the city is, like it's bad. They need a lot of help down there in Philly, because it's horrible. That like Kensington area, Allegheny, you have like people with the tents and all that. And I'm from that area. Like I lived in that area. I used to shop in those stores. I used to be up and down that area. That's my stopping grounds when I lived out there. So like to see where it's at now and how bad it got even worse. So like, yeah, like that really affected me a lot. And like just being around that my whole life growing up. So And now that my son, he's in that same situation, growing up in that too now. You know, that's why I'm trying to get him out of there.
I agree with you, Edgar. I'm actually from Philadelphia originally. And
Really?
we moved to
my
Vermont when I was almost 10. So we started off in Darby, Pennsylvania.
Okay, Darby, yeah.
And then Aston.
Okay.
But things are so different. When I go back very, very infrequently.
So you
and
know
it's
exactly what I'm talking
very
about.
different than it was
It's so
35
sad too,
years
like,
ago. Very sad.
Yeah, like it just me. I gotta take a deep breath just thinking about it, just imagining just being there. Like it's not a happy place.
No,
at all.
It's not a safe environment. It's not a happy place. It's not really a clean place. And so when we first moved up here, I was so upset. I missed Philadelphia so much. And then as I got older, and I always told my parents, I'm going to move back as soon as I'm old enough. And they would laugh at me. And then they're like, okay,
right?
good luck with that. And okay, we'll see how you feel. And then once I became an adult, I realized why they moved us up to this area. And so actually, to answer your question, Jeff, there was never a word for it when I was in high school, but I am what the kids these days would call straight edge, which is I didn't hang around with people that did drugs or that drank. So I really did not have experience with anyone with addiction when I was growing up. And even really now as an adult, I have very limited experience with it. I have had some exposure with either some friends. I did have a former colleague that passed away, unfortunately, a few years ago due to an overdose, which was really heartbreaking, especially for his two young children. But overall, I really have not had much experience with it prior to volunteering at Dismas. So moving from Philadelphia at a young age, I was very insulated up here. And even though there is an opioid epidemic here, it was still not very clear or very obvious until I'd say in the past decade or so, maybe the past 15 years when it started becoming much more of a situation.
I think it's pretty cool that you and Jenn, your parents, feel like they found a little bit of refuge away from some of those issues here in Vermont, here in the Upper Valley. Edgar's story is a little uncommon for those that live at Dismas in that he never did any jail time in Vermont. Right. Would you be willing to share a little bit of your experience in other states' facilities and how you would think that would compare to what you've heard about Vermont jails?
From what the guys tell me, like they say the jails here are like a little bit more laid back, and everybody's like just trying to do their time and get out. Pretty much, there ain't too much going on. You might have a fight here and there. I can say in Pennsylvania, those are some pretty tough county jails, and I've been to like almost every one of them actually, and it wasn't never a dull moment. I tell you that. Been in a lot of fights in there, so
I'm sure Delaware County was the worst.
Probably so.
Good old Delco, yeah.
Man, those places are like, they're pretty bad. Like, there's guys in there pulling out like swords that like made of like, it was bad, you know, all type of shanks, and it would go down in there like every day like that, you know, and you had to like be an animal to survive in there, you know, like I really just kept to myself. I didn't do anything that was going to get me into any type of conflict. Unless somebody wanted a problem, then I said, no problem. You know what I'm saying? You know, that's pretty much that. But I mean, even like when I first got to my first experience to CFCF, which is like the main county jail, county road in Philadelphia, my first experience was these two guys asking me what size my sneakers were. Cause when I got, they had me for like some kind of warrant. So they grabbed me from wherever they grabbed me. And I was coming out of a nightclub, and I had these like fresh Jordans on that were like $300-$400 sneakers. And so I go to jail with those things on.
No.
So the first thing they thought they had like these red bottoms. So they thought they were like, a lot of people thought they were Pradas. And I kept saying, no, they're Concourses, low bottom 11s. Like what is that? I'm like, they're Jordans, bro. Just they're Jordans.
They're Payless, size 5. They wouldn't fit you.
You know, so the two guys asked me, because I'm like, I get there, I have my bag with my stuff like over my shoulder, and like I'm waiting in the line, I guess, to see the CO to find out what cell I'm gonna be staying in. So they write it on a paper and then they give it to you, and then you just go down to the block yourself. They don't even like escort you or nothing. So it's just like you're standing in a line, and then these people are like on the side, you know, fishing you out, looking at you. So these two young guys with tattoos on their face, they walk up to me and they're like, "What size are you?" And I'm like, "Come to my cell and find out." But I whispered it. I didn't like make it like a scene or anything, because when you start like making a scene, it's like you become a snitch, because then they'd be like, "Oh, you're scared," you know, you're trying to make a scene. So I said, "Come to my cell and find out." And basically, I got my cell number. I walk down. I walk in. I have a cellie. I go like this to him. He's all panicky. He don't know what the hell's going on. I just go like this, like, "Be quiet. Be quiet. Don't say nothing." I stand behind the wall, and as the guys came in, I hit one of them with my bag, and then I grabbed one, hit him into the sink, and then I started scrapping with the other one. And so we both got tired. We both like out of breath. And then we just looking at each other, and the other guy was knocked out still. And he just dragged the other guy out. And then the guy, I was bleeding. Like I had like blood on my face and everything. It was a pretty bad fight. And I pretty much stood in front of my cell, and as I'm wiping my face off, making sure there was no blood seen. And I just said, "Anybody else want to know what size I am?" Really loud.
So you kept the shoes?
Nobody took my sneakers. No.
Well, your new nickname is Reacher now.
Yeah, that was my first experience in the county jail in CSCF.
And how would Florida compare to Philadelphia?
About the same, a little different. I didn't really know too many people in there at all, actually. Which was kind of funny, because I did bump into like two people I knew from New York that I grew up with, which was really weird. Yeah, like one of my childhood friends, we crossed paths. And like, "What the F are you doing in here?" It's like, "I don't know, same reason why you're here. I don't know," you know? So we hug each other, and then the guards were like, "Oh, you back up," because we were like passing in a line or whatever. We wound up like, you know, passing kites to each other during the time I was there. And then another friend of mine that I knew, I bumped into him in court. And he was from the Bronx too. And I was like, "What you doing down here, bro?" He's like, "Yeah, I got caught up and, you know, whatever. Come down to Broward County on vacation, leave back on probation." That's the motto. That's the line that they say. So, you know, pretty much I guess he came down on vacation and got caught up in something. So not much different from CFCF, honestly. I was fighting in there too, because, you know, people in there don't let you use the phones or tell you when you could take a shower, because they have like their homeboys are all lined up for the showers for the whole day. And then you're like, "Man, I'm getting in the shower. I'm already here." Like, got into a fight over a damn shower. Phone calls, trying to use the phone. And I used to tell them, "Look, man, we get these 20-minute calls, or we go to the hole and get 5-minute calls, which is really like 3. You know what I'm saying? You do the math. What you want to do, because I'm getting on this phone." You know, and that would pretty much be it. You know, you had to like, and I'm a little guy, so like they would try to test me, you know what I'm saying? So I had to like, you know, stand my ground. So the other times, you know, I got my ass whooped too, but, you know, I fought back, damn it, like fought back, you know. I didn't back down. You know, they respected me for that, you know, nobody really messed with me.
Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, cool.
Jenn, when you envision what people are like, those who are in jail and they come out, how has that changed through your experience with Dismas? Like, thinking back 10, 20 years when your only information is coming from what you saw either on the news or in movies, to you're sitting here with Edgar today and you just see how he is and how funny and pleasant he is. How has that changed over time through your experience?
That is such a great question, Jeff. And I can honestly say that my image of what someone that has gone through the correction system has completely changed. So I have had some external family members that have been through the system, and that changed it a little bit. And yet having a familiarity with them, I thought, well, they're kind of that outlier. They're not what someone that's been through prison would generally look like or would generally sound like. And having that experience with the residents has just been so incredibly eye-opening, because we have this image in our heads of someone that goes to prison as someone that has done really bad things and they deserve to be there. And they're not going to take advantage of the opportunity. And if they're released, they're going to go right back to that same lifestyle. Having this experience made me really, truly recognize that I was holding all of these biases, both conscious and unconscious, about what people that have been through the correction system are like. And many times through no fault of their own, been through the correction system, even thinking about the speaker that we had about the girlfriend experience and about how getting wrapped up in a loved one's criminal activity can actually put you into the correctional system as well. So just spending time with the residents has been wonderful and eye-opening, because everyone is so smart and funny and warm and kind, welcoming to everyone that comes in the house. And
absolutely,
it's a wonderful community. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. It's definitely a great vibe in the house.
When you come in there, I felt that the first time I walked in. Like, I didn't really know, like, what I was walking into. I'm thinking this place is probably going to be, like, kind of like being in jail or something like that. And it's nothing like that at all. You don't feel like that at all. Even though you're probably, like, on a, supervision or whatever. But it doesn't even feel like that. The POs are super cool, for the most of them. But, some of them there's some stories and then some good stories. But most of the guys are pretty cool. I'll say that. But, they don't even, like, they'll come and check up on us from time to time, just see how we're doing with chit chat, and that's it. And they go on their business, and it's just a very cool vibe. Like being in there. Just the home warmy feeling that it gives you. All
right, Edgar. To close out this podcast, I'm gonna prepare you for future job interviews with a question. Where do you see yourself in 1 year, in 5 years, and in 10 years?
So in a year, I see myself basically just working and still trying to figure out more or less what I'm going to be doing with myself and my life on my own, in my own apartment, probably with my son living with me, and just being a dad. Looking forward to that. And then you said 5 years from then?
Yes, 5 years.
5 years from then, I'm hoping that I'm probably a millionaire by then, maybe in the acting business or my sports card business that I'm doing now, and something in that aspect, just making good and more better strategic investments, trading my assets to make more assets and things like that.
All right, where do you see yourself in 10 years on your, 49th birthday in 10 years?
On his yacht.
Yeah, like
on the Amalfi
probably
Coast.
somewhere in like Mali or Fiji or something. I don't know. Like, I definitely would see myself 10 years from now traveling a lot. So I don't know where I'm going to be at. I'm going to be somewhere on this planet. Just don't know where. Before me being on probation now, like I was traveling all over the place, like seeing the world. So I definitely want to go out and do more of that. 10 years from now, that's definitely like my retirement, just traveling all over the place.
So I have a question for you, Edgar. First place you want to travel when you start traveling again, what's the number one place?
Well, I've been to like the Caribbean, Mexico, Thailand. So I definitely want to hit somewhere like in Europe somewhere. Like probably just hit the whole Europe, or maybe Spain, Portugal, places like that, because it's really beautiful over there too as well.
Lisbon is beautiful. I had someone that just went and they said very affordable, very beautiful, very walkable.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Going the Dismas. For more information about our community and our mission, please visit dismasofvt.org.
Thank you for listening to this Jam podcast. If you have found this program interesting and would like to find more Upper Valley content or learn how to produce your own media, please visit us at uvjam.org. That's uvjam.org.